welcome everybody. Thanks for joining in. Today's lesson is on how to build slide decks in Claude Code. And hopefully this is uh, sort of like something interesting for you. And by the end, hopefully you'll be able to at least see the capability of what Claude Code can do on things beyond just coding. So just a quick intro for all three of us. My name is Hai. I am the head of data at a legal tech company called Entra. I was previously at other consumer tech companies, at Nextdoor, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Meta, so on and so forth. So I've been in the data science analytics space for almost 20 years now. And yeah, excited to lead this session and talk to you guys about this. I will hand it off to Sean or Shravya, pass it to Shravya.
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Shravya. I'm a data science leader with experience in Microsoft, eBay, Nextdoor. That's where I met Sean and Hi, and most recently at Superhuman. Yeah, very excited to share everything we are doing in the analytics and AI space, Claude Code, and we also started working to look into codecs and other things. So excited to share with you all our learnings as part of these workshops. Hand over to Sean.
Hey everyone, I'm Sean. Yeah, lead AI Analyst Lab with Hi and Stravia. Been in data science for about 10 years. Currently a principal data scientist at a same legal tech company that Hi works at. And I specialize primarily in agentic analytics and AI evaluation. But today we're going to be talking about slide decks. So pass that
Yep.
off to Hi.
Cool. Yeah, we're going to talk about slide decks without touching PowerPoint. So hopefully this would be something interesting and you'll walk away with a little bit of mental model for how to do that yourself. Okay. Cool. Let's see. Oh, and just before we get into the rest of the content, we're all from AI Analyst Lab. You can check us out on AIAnalystLab.ai. We have a lot of free courses, free workshops of the past that you can watch recordings for. We also have a lot of upcoming workshops and lessons just like this, so you can sign up for those as well. We run a couple boot camps or I guess weekend workshops that you can join us as well, that we get more deeper into Claude Code in terms of building AI analyst systems and setting up Claude Code and things like that. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go. Cool. Okay. So here's the scenario that we're gonna walk through. So suppose you have the data of whatever you're analyzing. So we're all data professionals here. The three of us, we typically have to do a lot of kind of like presentations and deck buildings to convey our findings from the data that we have. And so in the upcoming rest of the lesson, we're gonna ground it in kind of like the data analogy or the data world sort of. And so, like we do, or maybe many of you do as well, do a lot of like data analysis or some sort of information gathering, and you have a deck that's due tomorrow. And most of the time, I guess in the old way, for the most part, it's spend a lot of time in either PowerPoint or in Google Slides. And maybe there's some templates that you already have that matches your company's themes and brands and things like that. But like you still have to like drag and drop and do all of that kind of stuff across the board. Now, with AI tools and just general sort of like horizontal chatbots or other agents that can help, things like Claude Cowork and stuff like that, you now have a lot better control and a lot better tooling to help you do this. Where perhaps you can fire off a prompt and then you can get some stuff back pretty quickly. So, like things have advanced really, really fast. And there are also like other tool building or presentation building sort of tools out there, like Gamma, so on and so forth. what we're talking about today here is to leverage Claude Code to do the end-to-end such that you can, like the final output of a deck could actually look like something that's been reviewed by, like multiple kind of like experts and things are very coherent in terms of the storytelling aspect of it. So I just pulled these random screens from kind of like a using Claude Cowork to prompt for a presentation deck. So many of you might have heard of the term AI slop, right? Like, or I guess maybe let me ask you this. Drop in chat if you feel like these slides look great. Okay. Claire says no. Stravia says not bad. Waleed says they look okay-ish. Okay. Seen worse for sure. Okay, wow. Looks Claude, not great. They don't feel like real world decks I would put together at work. Average. Yeah, so they're pretty mid, right? Like it's looks pretty generic. It's got the themes that feels like it comes from an AI. And for the most part, well, I mean, like, to be fair, I didn't know what the topic was on this one. Apparently it's for octopus. But I don't know how interesting you can make octopus. But just looking at the look and feel of the slides here, it doesn't look, like super compelling, right? Even if you expand it to the entire deck, it's probably going to be something very similar for the rest of the sequence, if you will. So, so the reason why, kind of like, if you don't give it enough context or instructions, that AI defaults to something like this is pretty simple because it's trying to just do the fastest way of accomplishing the goal that you set it out to do. I gave it a pretty generic prompt of, hey, build me a deck about a random topic, and then that's what it gave me. And so the power a lot of times in being able to leverage tools like Claude or Claude Code or ChatGPT is the ability to give it instructions. And so we're going to go through what a well-chained kind of like sequence of instructions would bring in terms of the outputs and the difference of it. And if anyone has any questions along the way, feel free to drop them in chat and we'll answer them, or raise your hands and we'll have a Q&A at the end. Cool. Okay. So what we're gonna be talking about is all of you might have seen our LinkedIn posts of the past or have been at past lightning lessons that we've run. We're gonna show the AI Analyst repo that we've open sourced and created for everyone to freely download and work with it. Basically, what this is an agentic system that you can work with in Claude Code that basically mimics the ability of a senior product data scientist. And so, like feel free to clone it. Feel free to take a look at it. It's got many different agents, skills that effectively is trying to do something that a product data scientist would be doing, and all the best practices that go into it. So it understands how to frame better questions. It understands how to define metrics. Understands how to provide guardrails for the metrics. Understands how to do experimentation, and then obviously the final piece of it is like making recommendations. Getting the context about the business and then making connections of them and building decks and stuff like that. So we're gonna take a look at the deck building component of this full pipeline, and we'll go into some of what it does, and then have it sort of show us what it can do at the end. Cool. Let's see. Oh, and if Shravi or Sean, if you want to drop the link to this guy, so people can clone it, that would be folks feel free to follow along as well.
Yep, dropped it in the chat.
Okay, cool. Great. So let's see. Cool. Okay. So like we have the agentic system freely available. We also run different workshops and boot camps where you also can get to kind of like learn it with us in terms of both how to set it up, how to run against it, and also how to set up something very similar for yourself. Like if you want to build something from scratch, we have a boot camp that teaches folks how to actually do it. We've run one in back in April. And the sort of like the vibe was really, 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 really cool. And I think our students got a lot out of it. We'll share more about the specifics later towards the end of the lesson. But just keep in mind that we have these things that we run these things as well. And so if you're interested, we'd love to have you join us. And perhaps Sean and Ravia, you guys can drop a link to kind of like those things for people to look at as well. But we'll come back to it. Okay, cool. So what I wanted to get into is kind of like the few components that makes decks look better than, for example, like if you just prompt AI out of the box for a deck. So the four things that are pretty important to nail for AI to have enough information to get a really good looking and compelling deck are these things. And would love to know if people feel like, more should be more should be included or like other things that you've seen that works. Number one is obviously the audience, like telling or understanding who you're presenting to and having that context available is pretty important. Is it an executive readout? Is it a workshop like this one? Is it a team stand-up? Or like whatever the setting is, really gives the high level overarching kind of context setting that's really important for both the tone, but also like the information architecture for what should be included in the deck itself. This is just like humans, right? Like this is, like we always think about who the audience is and then tailor the message based on that. If it's for, like in the world of data, if it's for like the data scientists, you can probably go pretty technical on the deck itself and explain methodologies and findings and whatever it is in a very detailed manner and show your work very extensively. But if it's for example, like a CEO, that would be completely different. You're probably going to mask away 90% of all those things and then just show the takeaways, the important evidence, and what you're asking for. So, and then everything else, it would be somewhere in between. So it's like audience is the most important piece where having that context helps really shape the even how many slides we should have in the deck itself versus some other audience that would be caring about something completely different. So that's number one. Number two is the context, specifically the decision that the deck is driving. So, for example, here is, like, hey, if I have a deck that conveys, like a topic around should we be shipping a specific feature, then that's a very different messaging than if we're producing a deck for are we on track of like progress updates, and then that would be very different from if you're asking for resources to further some sort of investment or go double down on some sort of initiatives. So the decision is also really important here, where like in addition to the audience is the intent of what you're trying to do with the deck. Make sense so far? Hopefully. And then once you have those, then you need a story, right? Like, hey, what is the narrative? So right here is a storyboard before slides. So, like typically there's a structure for what works. in terms of the flow of how you're going to deliver the presentation. So it might have something like a TLDR, might have the context setting so that everyone's on the same page before you get into the detail. With that, certainly for the case of analysis and presenting findings out of it, obviously the actual findings that you saw that are most relevant for the group of people that you're presenting to. That's really, really important. That's the meat of it. And then also like, the recommendation, like, so what? Having gone through the actual presentation or the slide deck, what are you trying to accomplish at the end of the day? So there's always like, there's different components that make up, depending on the audience again, that make up your sequence of messaging and what gets accomplished at the end of the day. But that's all can be wrapped into this whole category of something like a narrative arc. It's like, like at the end of the day, what is it? And it's not a one size fits all. It certainly is, not a chart dump in chronological order. I don't know if a lot of you have seen some, like let's call it like a lot to be desired sort of presentations where it's just one chart after another with very generic titles, and at the end you're like, okay, then like what is going on here? What do you want me to take away? And left scratching your heads. So what we're trying to do here is hopefully steer away from that sort of output, and then we'll see how AI can do it itself. And then finally, here's the more kind of like the user-facing aspect of it. So what is the theme of the presentation? Theme meaning like literally like what's the look and feel. So perhaps and we'll show a few themes as well in the demo. But like if something is more fun or whatever, you can have a bit different theme than if it's something more formal, for example. There's a reason why what do you call those, like McKinsey's or the consulting companies are very particular about what they want in their client decks and things like that, precisely because they want to make sure that number one, it's being consistent. Number two, it reflects kind of like the nature of the talks that or the presentations that they're giving. So, like I think if it's hopefully no surprise that all these things are actually carried over to the AI Analyst repo that we just talked about, and it knows how to do sort of like all of these independently, like it by itself. So the we call it like the pipeline. So basically it's like like a sequence of steps for the AI to execute. All the skills and agents effectively tries to orchestrate a kind of like a sequence of events or a sequence of execution steps that leads to the final outputs. And it mimics what we just talked about in terms of the sequence. So it's got the storyboard where, like given a set of data, given a set of findings. So assume that we've done the analysis up front because this is a building a deck sort of course or a lesson here. We're gonna, not look at the actual analysis or how that's done and stuff like that. So in your mental model, assume that we have a set of completed analysis, and now we need to build a deck for it. And so the pipeline runs like, okay, now you have a bunch of stuff. So let's see what makes sense to build a storyboard. So what's the arc? What is the climax? What is the information that we should be telling people, and kind of like plan it high level like that. And then the second piece is the narrative. Like, how should I tell that story based on the story arc, based on the storyboard, and based on the actual data and finding that's already been done? So it understands how to do executive summary, how to do which findings to pick out, what recommendations you can do based on those, and then connect it back to sort of like the business context or whatever else it has access to formulate the actual like the actual messaging on the slides themselves. And then they'll build the charts, and then compiling all of that together becomes the deck. And then the fifth the fifth step here is where humans come in to, like, hey, maybe play around with it, give it feedback, and have it iterate. And we'll see all of that in just a little bit. Does this make sense? Like, generally speaking, in terms of the flow? Like, hopefully this is similar to how you would think about doing it yourself if you were to build it manually, right?
Yeah, I think one of the other things to think about this is that you can do this for any use case. It doesn't have to be analytics, but in terms of like analysis, which is obviously our kind of focus area, so much of the work goes into cleaning the data, framing the questions, doing the analysis, reviewing the analysis, like just, so much work that it's really easy at the end of the day to kind of like hand off something that's not in a very well curated deck that doesn't have a story or a narrative to it. And it's just a shame when that happens because so much like hard work that really could be driving decisions doesn't end up being actioned on because the story or the deck like doesn't get showcased or surfaced in the way it should be. So it's really nice, even if you're already doing this, to have a kind of like automated kind of co-pilot with you so that every time like you complete your work, you're able to make sure that like we're going to check these boxes at the end to make sure we get that last mile of our work done.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, definitely. The last mile, probably 10% of the work drives 90% of the impact. So you've heard, did this thing land or something similar? It's basically that's the if you've done the hard work, did it actually get people to be influenced by it? And so we're trying to make sure we can leverage AI to do that as effectively as possible. All right, cool. So let's see. So yeah, so what we're going to be showing, probably like right now, is we're not going to look at any PowerPoints. We're not going to do any CSS work. Um, we don't need to be super precise on our prompts. And certainly we don't need design background. All of that is baked in this in the instructions and, or I guess the agents and skills in the AI Analyst repo, and we'll see how that works. So just a little bit of backdrop. In the repo itself, we have a test dataset. It's an imaginary company, an e-commerce company. Think of it like Amazon. It's called NovaMart. And assume we've done this analysis where we were looking at checkout to purchase rates for the company, and we're seeing some of these results. Now, the specifics don't really matter here. Again, like we're trying to separate the deck building aspect versus the analysis or the analytics aspects at the beginning. What I'm going to show, what I'm going to demo next is given these contexts and given these findings, what does it look like when we build a deck with it? All right, so let's get into it. Okay, hang on one second. Let me find my Claude code here. I am gonna switch screen and hopefully you guys can see it. Uh, did I share the right thing? Do you guys see a Claude code setup here?
Yeah, it has like a mobile checkout conversion has collapsed.
Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, right screen. I'm always nervous because I've shared wrong screens in the past. That didn't lead, that may or may not have led to awkward things being shared. Okay, cool. So let's see. So for those of you who are familiar, this is VS Code and pairing with Terminal or pairing with Claude Code and Terminal. So for people who are not aware, VS Code is like like IDE workflow where you can browse your folders and files on the left, and you can have terminals at the bottom and file explorers on top. Whatever you want to make your almost like a desktop equivalent to be tailored towards your workflow. And free to download, feel free to do that. You can use any IDEs to run Claude Code. And like certainly it's there's anti-gravity, there's a cursor, You might have heard of all those things, but effectively, it's just trying to make your desktop or make your workflow as clean as possible. So for folks who are familiar, this is Claude Code in Terminal, and I am in the AI Analyst repo. And just showing very quickly, I've got a bunch of agents, skills. So agents are things like files to make Claude code act certain way. They have access to different tools. They can accomplish certain goals. And as a quick example, Data Explorer means this file when you ask Claude Code to act like an agent that does exploring the data, it will be able to follow instructions for how to do that. And then we have a bunch of skills as well. Skills are recipes for how to do certain things. So things like, oh, what does metrics mean? How to uh, whatever it's how to do forecasting, how to explore the data, that kind of stuff. So feel free to explore those. We're not going to get into the detail on that. But what I'm going to do is, so we already have the analysis done with the NovaMart checkout sort of like conversion story. So what we're going to do is, so I'm just going to do, hey, can you show me an ASCII diagram of the deck building pipeline? So what I'm asking for is show me a step-by-step diagram of how you actually do deck building in this specifically in this agentic system here. So it's going to take a minute to think about it. I'm on Claude Opus 4.7, and let me zoom in a little bit. So it is pretty much telling me behind the scene when I use it to build decks, what exactly it is that it's doing. So you can see, okay, here's the deck building pipeline, and let me give you a visual of that. So assuming, again, like the analysis phase has been completed. So it's like what's complete before deck building, but once you've done, and this AI analyst is also able to do, framing, design, hypothesis, explore, analyze, root cause, all these things to understand what the data or the piece of analysis that you're trying to do. So all those are kind of like done feeding in, and then this is what it looks like once we have the findings and all the opportunities and like all the detail from the analysis. So you can see that, oh, okay, there is a story architect that builds the storyboard. It has a narrative generator and it reviews sort of like, do these things make sense? And then it's got the loop of like, oh, if it needs fixes, then let's go back to the architect and keep doing it until it passes these different reviewers and stuff. And once it's done on the upper tile there, then you go into chart maker. So building the actual charts to really get at what the story is. It's got like a critique for visual design. So just make sure that it follows the right formulas for how to make those look good, and just keep doing the like, hey, do I approve it? Not I as the human, but like, does the system approve it? And if it doesn't, then give it feedback and keep going. And then storytelling, write out the narrative, and then after all those is done, then it goes into kind of like putting the deck together, and then so on and so forth. Close the loop, blah blah blah. So roughly speaking, there's like a multi-step thing happening here where it's doing its own kind of like understanding if things pass the bar, and then it fixes itself, or it passes kind of like the task from one to the other until the whole sequence is accomplished.
Maybe just to jump in there. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think this is one of like the really strong differentiators is like being able to set these loops up where you work with Claude to set like, here's like my passing criteria. You can have many different passing criteria to where like I know this deck is ready. Because if you're thinking about it, when you build a deck, like you review it yourself many times. You might share it with a colleague, your manager, some stakeholders that you trust. and you're working all of those share out loops into your first pass right here. So your first pass on the deck is actually ends up being what you would get like 4 or 5 passes, but it happens really quickly. And it can and you can have it, break and ask you like, oh, should I go through another pass, or it can just loop on autonomously on its own. So I think that's like one of the most powerful things I've seen so far when I build decks with this versus like, using something else like Gamma, which is like an AI slide deck creator, or of course like doing it on my own, or doing something with like the Beautify slides and Google Slides. Make it those criteria can all be like custom to what your beliefs are should be the passing criteria should be. Um, Also had a question here in the chat for you, Hi. Would the output quality be different if we use the same workflow in Cowork instead of Claude Code and VS Code?
Uh, so or I guess different. We also have an AI Analyst plugin for Cowork, so it's almost like a companion version for Cowork itself. The AI Analyst, if you port it directly over to Cowork, it's not going to follow the exact instructions because of the differences in, like the files and systems and the system prompts and stuff like that. Um, there's also the probabilistic nature of the LLMs. So even if you prompt it twice in the same in Claude Code, it may not actually produce the exact same thing. Now the data, as long as it's generated from code, will be referenced the same way. The actual kind of content and how it, phrases stuff, how it frames things, how it picks what's the most important thing to support a given storyline could be a little different. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, cool. So I'll move on. Let's see. Okay, so now we've seen what this thing looks like. Oh, and by the way, I don't know why I have this chart up here, just to show that some analysis was done on the mobile checkout screen. So something has happened. Okay, so let's see. So I am interested in trying to see what kind of themes do you have for presentations? Because like I want to know what it has access to in terms of the look and feel for the final deck itself. So it's gonna think a little bit, look into some of the skills, look into the directory for what is currently available, and then give me an answer. So right now there's 6 on here, but it's like anybody can add as many as they want. It's got some of these corporate, minimal, New York Times, Economist, analytics, specific themes and things like that. So like it's got a corpus of pretty interesting stuff. So let's take a look at the New York Times. Can you make New York Times themed presentation for the mobile checkout conversion? Let's see, it's called story. The audience is executives at the company. So I just gave it this prompt. So again, like this, the mobile checkout conversion story refers to an analysis that's already been done. So something like this up top here. So what it's doing is it's going to go refer back to the actual analysis, which lives somewhere in under working, somewhere here. Latest, yeah, it's outputs. Yeah, it's got like a full analysis done somewhere here. I've done a lot of stuff here, so not gonna pollute the, not gonna make it too messy. But that's the idea. So what it's doing is looking back at the analysis, and then it's going to build the end-to-end reusable and New York Times themed CSS, putting together the supporting charts, making the deck, and then rendering it in PDF. And let's see, existing checkout artifacts. So it's found the analysis, and then it's going to do the actual rebuilding of the different charts and stuff like that. And what it's doing here is it's invoking some of the skills that has instructions for what a good chart looks like, how to build those charts, what the title should look like, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of best practices incorporated in some of these skills that's already explicitly been baked into to these instructions for Claude Code to follow. So we don't have to, so we don't get the AI slop that we saw at the beginning. Okay, so it's looking at the story a little bit, and then it's gonna read the real analysis. I don't know what why it was not real before, but and then it's giving me a plan for what it's doing. So the to-do list, if you will. Now it's like, okay, I'm gonna build the CSS, the New York Times themes. We didn't ask for anything. We didn't give it any instructions for any of that. And it's gonna generate the charts, and then it will write out the deck and render the chart in PDF. But we'll ask it for an HTML that I can share with you all as well. Hopefully this goes quick. I'm hoping. While it builds, any questions here? I know there's a bunch of stuff that I kind of can't keep up.
Oh, there's a question. I can kind of answer this one too. Around it says like with this workflow, does Claude develop predefined design templates for each theme or create fresh design layout based on the content? So like the themes we've predefined here. If you just kind of had Claude Code create its own theme each time on its own, I've found they can be pretty bad. So we have a few different themes that we leverage. It's pretty good at building themes with you if you have something you're inspired by, like say like, hey, give me the qualities of like an article from say like the Economist or the New York Times. I want to generate a theme that's kind of based on that format. And then within that theme, it'll create a few different types of slides, like, title slides or big number slides or chart slides or bullet slides, but it still will reason through and create new types of slides on its own. So it's not necessarily limited to that, although you could make it limited to that if you wanted to.
Cool. So it's run into some errors and stuff, and that's all good. It's self-healing, so agents are autonomous in fixing its own errors and figuring out what's wrong, all that kind of stuff. So, like for those who are new to Claude Code, um, like pretty much until it hits a point where it can't solve certain things, it won't really bother you. So it's a very compelling
Also,
assistant.
there's one question by I think Kanwal about the course details on the Saturday workshop that we'll have. If there's a question about do we need, it says that they could bring their own data set and how do they work with it? So
On the Saturday workshop. Yeah,
yeah.
so for the Saturday workshop and also for the boot camp and also our 5-week course, we do have uh, a practice data set we use that's based on a fictional e-commerce company. So, you can think of it as like SKUs and orders and usage kind of stuff. Basically like a fake Amazon. So we'll have that data set we can use. And then, yeah, if you want to connect your own data or if you want to work with a public data set, that's an option as well. We can chat with you in terms of like how to connect to that. But I think your question here was like, if you don't have your own data set, can you still do the workshop? And the answer is yes. We'll all start with that practice data set.
Yeah, totally. All right. So it's still building. Hopefully it should be done soon. What we can take a look at, for example, is it generated some of the charts in the New York Times theme. Oh, now it's okay, it's almost done with the deck, but we can take a look, for example. Well, too tiny. So this is one of the charts that it built with the New York Times theme. If you follow New York Times, this is roughly similar to what you would have seen in the some of their articles when a chart is embedded. It's got the different I don't know, like the signature sort of red and gray kind of look and feel. And with the other skills in terms of how to tell a story and stuff like that, it actually highlights the like the takeaway at the title instead of, you know, whatever the description of the chart is, for example. So, okay, cool. So it looks like it's done. So it did a bunch of stuff, but basically it outputs a PDF file, outputs a Marp file, used the New York Times CSS, so on and so forth. Now I wanted to just, can you render this? I can show you the PDF as well, but it's probably easier to do the HTML. Can you render this in HTML? And then I'll share a screen for of what that looks like. This one should be pretty quick. Um, all right.
The HTML rendering is pretty cool because you can also have it create speaker notes for
Yep.
you. I don't know if this one's automatically creating that, but the speaker notes is cool because you can have it, you can set up different voices for yourself based on your audience or who you are, and have your kind of speaker notes, you know, reflect whatever kind of voice guide you have set up.
Also, there's a question from Jamie around what is the advantage of creating deck in Claude Code versus Claude UI? This is too technical to create a deck. So I just wanted to say that I've not been a terminal person all my career. I was trying to stay away from it, just use directly VS Code and all. But as you get used to Claude Code, it's a very straightforward approach. It's almost like you're chatting with it. Yes, it gives a lot more information, probably like the bash commands, but we don't need to like understand them or what they mean and stuff. It's almost like you're Claude UI. Probably it's just getting to understand to work with it. The one thing I can say, how is it beneficial than Claude UI? Because I have access to UI, Claude UI, Cowork, and also Claude Code. Claude Code is a lot more flexible and it remembers things so much more easily. You can work with context, you can go work with memory. There's so many more tools you could work with. It's just the starting friction. I would say probably 2, 3 days of friction, and that's it. And after that, you would understand how much more powerful this is.
I think the other thing with setting it with Claude Code is that you can automatically trigger creation of decks based on other things that you have going on. So if you have, something going on in Slack or an email, um, it's like, for instance, like the deck here is its own pipeline, but that's actually just like one small piece of our much broader, more longer pipeline of our like analysis pipeline. So for us, it's really nice because we can not only just, it's not like I'm going to create a deck right now. I'm going to go into Claude Code and create a deck. It's, oh, I got a question from a stakeholder in Slack. I'm going to go in Claude Code and start like reframing this question, doing all the analysis for this question. And at the very end of that, it's going to automatically kick off this deck creation for me. So it's just like being able to automate things based on like other triggers is one of the kind of like key differentiators of doing something in like Claude Code or Codex or whatever.
Yeah, totally. All right, cool. So let's take a look at the thing here. So this is the deck it came up with. So the it's got kind of like the bit of a look and feel for the New York Times things, although it should have been a little wider, I would say. But anyway, so the deck is pretty much kind of like going through the tailor for an executive audience. It is done the minimal, almost like the minimalist way of showing the information that is relevant for the audience itself. Notice there's not a lot of clutter here, for example, and what were the findings, so on and so forth, supporting ticket. All of these were done by Claude Code. Like I didn't give it anything in terms of the kind of like the display requirements and things like that. And so and then it goes to what we're asking for an executive audience. Typically, it's like, okay, we're looking to ask for certain things and not just tell a story and leave without any sort of next steps. So hopefully this is helpful, and it's got the appendix. But this is a pretty short deck that it created because the audience itself is pretty tight. So that's kind of like the idea here. And we can obviously, like if we switch back to Claude Code, we can obviously, if you remember just 10 minutes ago or so, we have the ability to swap themes, right? Like we have the Economist theme, for example, or the corporate theme. And so it would just be a matter of like, hey, I don't like this theme. Let me swap that one prompt to Claude Code in the same instance, in the same session, and then it'll do the rest. And then you go check and you go iterate and you give it feedback and just keep doing that. So that's kind of like the idea here. All right, let me go back to here. And I know we're coming up on time, so okay, cool. So we did the demo here. Okay, before we get into Q&A, so a couple ways to, like we have pretty limited time in the lesson, but couple ways to continue to take the next step if you're interested. This Saturday, so 2 days from now, we have the Intro to Claude Code Analytics workshop, which is 3 hours for Pacific time people in the morning, hands-on workshop. Will help you install Claude Code, clone the repo, run real analysis, and we'll basically get you set up. We're doing it almost for free here. We're doing kind of like a $25 with this code because we do want people to show up and not just like sign up for free and not take it seriously. And then we have in another week, we'll have a 2-day bootcamp, Claude Code Analytics. So where we work with you to actually build the system. So you can actually build something like an AI analyst yourself that's tailored towards your own use cases, your own context, and your own expertise. So we'll show you and walk you through how to do that. We've done a cohort of this, and we've got really great reviews off of it. So we'll send over the link in the chat as well. But feel free to kind of like ping us for any of these if you have questions. We have a promo code here for 20% off of that bootcamp that happens in, I guess, a week and a half now. Expires Saturday Pacific time, end of day Saturday Pacific time. So definitely take advantage of it if you're interested. All right, we've got 10 minutes left roughly, so I think we can probably open it up for questions.
Can read through some of the ones on here. I think Nikki just had a question. Nikki, do you want to ask your question actually?
Oh, it's a really good question. Yeah.
So I was curious, how does this workflow differ from using Claude Design? Particularly because like right now I have some free credits that I can try things out. It's about 20 prompts worth. So I really want to get value out of that. And then also I want to keep the costs low with whatever workflow I come up with. So I'm realizing Claude Design can't be like that one place that I stick to.
Yeah. I tried Claude Design pretty extensively myself. There's certainly a new product, and I'm guessing you're talking about the slide deck builder component of Claude Design, right?
Yeah, exactly. But we are hoping to like build out our design system and start using that to rebrand old materials and create new ones. And I'm starting to realize like, ooh, that's going to get expensive. So I want to come up with like the most efficient workflow I can, but also take take leverage the value of this new tool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Claude Design, for those who haven't used it, it's the new system that Claude rolled out probably like 2.5 weeks ago now, or 3 weeks ago. Effectively, you can go to claude.ai/design, something like that, where you can build interactive apps or do anything related to design. And building slide deck is one of those. Um, I built 2 decks with it, and I exhausted all my credits. And I think over time, it's gonna get really good, definitely. That's no question. Right now, it's pretty painful to do. Instruction following, understanding your intent, understanding your context, that's been pretty rough, I would say. Now, over time, that would be different. Like what Sean got into earlier is that in code, in Claude Code, specifically in terminal, it's just a lot more flexible and like I think the cost is a lot more predictable in a way. And so, like pretty sure Claude Design is going to keep getting better and it's going to keep getting like being able to follow instructions and all that kind of stuff, improvements pretty well over time. Right now, it's pretty hard to do. And again, like you lose the ability to sort of like chain different workflows together. Um, uh, you have a very single purpose, kind of like a workflow when you look at something like a Claude design, for example, versus Claude code and terminal. You can chain it with whatever you're doing all together and just perhaps like, oh, now build me a deck after some of the other stuff that you've done. I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
Not for me.
I think there are a
Good
couple of
question.
questions around, it looks like, I don't know if you've covered it in the previous one, it looks like AI agents can operate here without being invoked by slash commands in the terminal. Have you built .md files in the background to be able to respond to you? That's one question. I think another question, this was by Anish, and there's another question around something similar is about how did you get Claude Code to get the analysis for you done? Like, did you share it? How was the analysis fed to Claude Code? In which format was analysis or data is stored? So I think both are kind of similar. So just want to.
Yeah. Sean, do you want to answer the slash command one? And I'll take the second one.
Yeah, the question is like, have we built agents and slash commands in the repo to do stuff? Yeah, we have like, so this repo is like there's like dozens of agents, skills slash commands. And so a lot of those will trigger automatically based off of like phrases that we put in there. Where it'll look if there's like, semantically similar phrases like I want to create a deck, I want to create a presentation. It'll automatically know to kick off that skill, which will then invoke these agents and this entire workflow. You can also trigger them directly. Like sometimes, honestly, a lot of times when I use any sort of agentic system with Claude Code right now, I'm so paranoid that it's going to go off the rails that I'm like, I first prime it to say, like, hey, tell me. And Hai kind of did this, right? I was like, tell me about the pipeline we have in this repo that can build out a deck for us, and then okay, go leverage that pipeline to do it, because sometimes it will escape the harness as well. But yeah, you can take a look at the whole kind of open source repo to see what's in there. And then we're going to obviously, in our boot camp in a week and a half, we go into how you build all of that from scratch for your use case, what our kind of methodology was when we built this for ourselves. And we also have a 5-week course where we spend the last week of that 5-week course purely on presentation, and we kind of talk about not just the agents and skills building, but the kind of like frameworks and stuff behind them. I don't know if that answered your question.
And then the second part of the question was, how does Claude know where to pick up the analysis? So the analysis was pre-done. Again, the AI Analyst itself is a full end-to-end agentic system that goes from the very beginning of, hey, given a question, how should we reframe it? What do we look for? And what is actually useful, that kind of stuff, all the way down to, hey, here's the finished deck. And so it has all the different wirings and again, very similar to what Sean has said about automatically triggering, invoking different commands and skills. Same thing, like if it's like, oh, like, hey, I've done this analysis, and then I'm referring to that analysis, then it knows kind of like, oh, okay, like here's what I'm looking at, and let me see what that looks like, and then it passes over and like continues with the pipeline. Hopefully that makes sense.
Another question for the Saturday workshop, are there any prereqs such as software tools that need to be installed beforehand to get started? So this is that Intro to Claude Code Analytics. It's a 3-hour workshop we're doing this Saturday, May 16th. This is like I think we said this in a couple of things in the chat. We find that like anyone can really leverage Claude Code for any sort of use case that they have, like just no matter what their technical ability is. But there is some kind of initial friction in getting things set up. So that's kind of what this whole Saturday thing is about. It's like getting folks set up hands-on with live instructors and kind of like unblocking people so they can run through like the analytics repo or start thinking about what they want to do on their own. So that being said, there's no prereqs. Our expectation is that you could have never used any of this before. You'll need a computer, obviously. You'll need Wi-Fi to be able to access Zoom and also to hit the Anthropic API. And then you'll need a Claude Code Pro subscription, which is $20 a month currently.
Best if you have a Mac. We don't know PC much, but we've had students who work themselves out before as well.
Yeah, we'll spend some times on how we can translate the code to from Mac to whatever PC or Linux or whatever. Another question here. Or Emma, do you want to read your question actually?
Yeah, my question was just sort of around the repo that you have and how I can take pieces of it and incorporate it with the repo that I'm already working with at my company. But I saw Nikki's response and can probably just ask Claude how to do it for me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool how portable things are. So yeah, at my work, we all work on like separate kind of repos locally, and then kind of have like a master one. And we're not kind of pushing to those as we typically would with like in Git because things get so messy and different. So what I usually do is like I'll have Claude Code be like, hey, go look at that repo, look at mine, tell me everything that mine does better than that, and it does better than mine. Tell me all the gaps to fill, and now create a plan to basically like bring mine up to parity or to fill any of those gaps. And then you can review the plan yourself and have it execute it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you.
No problem. Good question.
I saw Max has a question about the token, or not token, the how if the $20 plan is good enough. Yeah, so short answer, oh, Shravi already answered. Yes. Should be more than enough.
For a Saturday workshop, yeah.
Yeah, especially Claude. I don't know if you guys have seen, Anthropic just announced that pricing war with Codex. So they actually upped the limit for both the 5-hour window and also the weekly limit by 50% or something like that, or double or something like that. So it actually is quite abundant if you kind of think about it that way versus before, which is easily running out. So far, I think now is probably the best time to kind of learn because you can burn not like not wastefully, but like you can burn compute in a way that you can really get into the learning without shelling out for the max plan or things like that.
Let's see, we got another one here. Pipeline slide from before, the numbers weren't vertically aligned. Is that limitations in Marp? Or wondering how good the slides can get?
pipeline slide from before. Numbers were not vertically aligned. Oh, I see. Yeah, so the fifth step, if you remember, the iterate piece. So you can actually give Claude the same feedback, like, hey, I see that you aren't doing this, or like the thing is out of whack, or like text boxes were spilling over the page and things like that. It actually knows how to fix itself, or it knows how to review it and then fix itself. So it is by no means a limitation on any of this stuff. As long as you sort of work with it like a person would, it will figure out kind of like the stuff that you're referring to, and that it will do the fixes for.
Yeah, and then you just want to make sure that whenever you do those fixes, you want to codify them. So because they'll default to like one-off fixing it for that deck you're working on. After you get it to a place you want it to be, usually like kind of my next step is like working with Claude, like, okay, what was the difference between what you were doing in this final step versus that, draft before that? How do we update the existing kind of templates or skills or agents or whatever, so that the next time those are all aligned from the first place. And like every time you build a deck, there'll probably be some little tweak like that you have. But it's really cool because the next time you use it, it just gets better every single time.
Yep. I know we're out of time, but I can stay for a couple more minutes if people have more questions.
Sheila, on like, are folks using, what laptop are people using for Claude Code? Is there recommend to get separate equipment? So I mean, like Claude Code itself, like everything that's running is running on Anthropic's servers. It's not running on your machine. So like your computer doesn't matter that much in that case, but like if it's starting to like create a bunch of output on your machine, if it's starting to like call other like, for us, like we do a lot of like analysis work, so it's calling different stats packages and stuff. Or if you're starting to run a lot of things in parallel, that's when you want to kind of like think about graduating to a different machine. I don't know. Me, Hi, and Stravi all run Macs. But I would say like, I don't think you need to go shell out and buy a new computer right away. Like, see what you can get away with right now, and then yeah, it might be worth buying something.
Very cool, thank you. I after a layoff, I'm at home. I've got my old Dell. I'm like, oh boy, blow the dust off of this
Yeah,
thing.
blow the dust off. Try to remember the password.
Yeah, I'm rolling in it, but even for security purposes, right? Like I'm just getting to the point where I want to start toying around with automating some of my personal stuff, and I'll, start with some, you know, job search or business ideas, but now I'm going, all right, I know I need to do like make sure I'm double down on my password stuff, but does it make sense to have a separate machine anyway? From what I'm reading, it sounds like it. And the Mac Mini is popular, but I don't know, it's a little iffy out there on the advice.
Yeah, really depends on what you're doing with it. I think the Mac Mini crew is Mac Mini is really powerful, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing around with it for the last week and a half for really high bang for the buck. The whole separate computer thing I think pertains more to, for example, like if you run something like an Open Claude or the Hermes agent, where like it's doing things directly itself without
Mm-hmm.
you being in the loop, which could be pretty dangerous if you think about it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the context that you hear it from.
Yeah.
For the
It,
biggest bang of the for the buck, it's a Mac Mini is great regardless.
okay, cool. I'll take a look into it. Thank you. Yeah, I was looking at Open Claude, but we're just gonna slow our roll and just take it step by step.
Yeah, Open Claude in the grand scheme of things is like level 5 versus let's say like a Claude Code is probably like a level 3 in terms of complexity.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Is there anything else?
Any other questions? So you asked about the time for Intro to Cloud Coding Analytics on Saturday. That's 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time. So Saturday morning, West Coast.
One last thing on the workshop. So I have an engagement that would cut me off about halfway through. Do you have these workshops frequently? Or if I did it and I was there for the first hour, hour and a half, and then is the rest recorded where I could just kind of catch up on it?
Yeah, the rest will be recorded. And I think that first hour, hour and a half is probably a good one to be there for, because that's when we're going to kind of like demo the capability a bit and then like set people up. And then you can follow along on your own leisure. We haven't ran, so we have a couple of 2-day boot camps that we run monthly. We haven't ran this intro to Claude Code Analytics one before. This is the first time we're running it. But if it goes well, I'm sure we'll run it again. But either way, you'll get the recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
We generally want people to come in person and participate live. Most of the people did, but there were few people who did async for the bootcamp as well. And they still like the work and were able to get a lot of value. But yeah.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I'll see if I can move my other engagement a little bit, but yeah, thanks.
Sweet.
Cool. Okay.
Awesome.
If nothing else, thank you everybody for joining us.
Yeah, we'll see y'all in the Saturday workshop for those who are going to make it, and then hopefully see some of you in the boot camp in a week and a half. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or email us, or go to AIAnalystLab.ai if you have any questions. Happy to hop on a call with you as well if you have any questions around the boot camps or workshops or anything. And then we have our Slack community too.
Yeah. Oh, completely forgot about the Slack community.
Yeah, I shared it.
Okay.
We
Cool.
can probably share it in the email as well, right? When we share
Yeah,
it.
we'll send an email out after this with all the kind of details to that stuff. But the Slack community is a nice way because then we get to DM each other so much easier.
Yeah. Cool. All right. See you
Cool.
guys around.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for
Bye.
staying. See you.
Thanks, guys.